Hello everyone! Today we're going to explore a super mysterious historical case, the princes in the tower. In 1483, two young English princes, Edward V and his younger brother Richard, suddenly disappeared from historical records, leaving behind a long unsolved mystery. This event was full of political intrigue and power struggles, and it was even dramatized by Shakespeare, making Richard III one of the most controversial figures in history. Today, we'll start from the very basics and gradually reconstruct this often misunderstood chapter of history.
Today we're going to talk about a super mysterious historical case, the princes in the tower. Let's start with the basics. Philippa Langley, could you introduce who these two princes were?
In 1483, a mysterious and heartbreaking event occurred in English history. 12-year-old Edward V and his 9-year-old brother Richard, Duke of York, suddenly vanished from the public eye. These young princes were the children of King Edward IV of England, innocent and at the prime of childhood and growth. Yet their fate was overshadowed by political struggles over the royal succession. Their uncle, who later became King Richard III of England, is believed to have been closely involved in this disappearance. The sudden vanishing of these princes became one of history's most famous mysteries, plunging the English royal lineage and the battle for power into chaos. Edward V ascended the throne as a child and could not rule personally, while his younger brother Richard was helplessly drawn into court intrigues.
Wow, so what were their personalities and interests like?
The elder son, Edward V, was calm, quiet, and studious, a typical contemplative child. He had a passion for knowledge, often buried himself in books, prayed quietly, and rigorously trained his body, showing a combination of wisdom and discipline. People had high hopes that he would grow into a wise and resolute king. In contrast, his younger brother Richard was full of energy and enthusiasm, like the little son of the family. He enjoyed sports, dance, and music, revealing a lively and active nature, and loved exploring the world through action. His joy and vitality brought life to the court, showing a different kind of youthful energy.
Sounds like a really vivid pair of brothers. How was their relationship with their uncle, Richard III?
According to existing historical records, Richard, as Duke of Gloucester, was one of King Edward IV's most trusted family members and an important pillar of national politics. As a key royal figure, Richard showed great loyalty to his elder brother, striving to maintain the stability of the monarchy and the peace of the kingdom. In his interactions with the young princes, Edward V and Richard, Duke of York, Richard consistently demonstrated respect and caution, strictly adhering to the royal etiquette of the time, reflecting his responsibility as an elder and guardian.
So, what happened after Edward IV suddenly passed away?
In April 1483, King Edward IV of England died unexpectedly. The official account claimed it was due to a chill caught while fishing, but the true circumstances remained shrouded in mystery. Upon his death, the throne should have passed to his 12-year-old eldest son, Edward V, a natural continuation of the royal line. However, the young prince was not yet of age and could not rule personally, making the political situation extremely delicate and unstable. Before his death, Edward IV carefully appointed his brother Richard, Duke of Gloucester, as regent, entrusting him with the critical responsibility of protecting the kingdom and the throne. The original intention of this arrangement was to ensure that Edward V could inherit the crown safely and securely, preserving both royal authority and national stability. Over time, however, this regency also sparked a series of power struggles and historical mysteries.
So Richard III initially became protector according to his father's wishes, rather than plotting to seize the throne from the start.
This is a crucial truth that is often misunderstood. Many people believe Richard III was an ambitious man driven by a lust for power, but in reality, he initially faithfully followed his father Edward IV's instructions, serving as regent to safeguard the young Edward V and the crown. On the path to the coronation, Richard faced complex political tensions, particularly due to the powerful influence of Edward V's mother, the Woodville family, which made the situation even more sensitive and tense. To stabilize the kingdom and protect the young princes, Richard had to take decisive actions, arresting several individuals who posed threats to the monarchy to prevent political turmoil. These actions were not driven by personal gain or ambition, but by the need to maintain national security and royal stability. Richard did not immediately order the execution of those arrested, showing that he still hoped to resolve issues peacefully and avoid unnecessary bloodshed.
Then the princes were sent to the Tower of London. Did people at the time think of it as a prison?
Many people mistakenly think of the Tower of London as a gloomy prison, but in 1483 it was more like a small, bustling city with multiple functions. The tower housed the royal palace, the mint, an armory, and even up to 15 taverns. Thousands of people lived and worked there every day. It was busy and lively, far from the cold, foreboding prison we imagine today. Edward V and his brother Richard were placed in the tower not as prisoners or under house arrest, but because the tower was an ideal environment for preparing for the coronation. As a key royal stronghold, it was not only secure but also convenient for the princes to receive royal education, ceremonial training, and all preparations needed before the coronation. Life there was very different from what we think of as a prison today. It was a multifunctional space combining political, economic, and social roles.
I heard that later a key clergyman appeared, and his revelation seemed to change everything.
In June 1483, England's political landscape faced a major turning point. An important English bishop publicly claimed that Edward IV's marriage to Lady Elizabeth Woodville was invalid due to a previous, unresolved marriage. As a result, Edward IV's sons, Edward V and his brother Richard, were declared illegitimate and lost their legal claim to the throne. This explosive accusation quickly triggered a constitutional crisis over the English succession, plunging both the royal family and the nation into uncertainty and turmoil. Faced with this crisis, Richard III, as Duke of Gloucester, became a central figure in the political scene. Representatives from the three realms formally requested that he accept the crown, seeing him as the most suitable ruler at the time. Although Richard was initially hesitant, political pressure and concerns for national stability ultimately led him to accept the invitation, and he was officially crowned King of England later that year.
After the coronation, the princes mysteriously disappeared. Did people immediately assume they had been murdered?
Absolutely not. At the time, no one believed that Edward V and Richard, Duke of York, had been murdered. Rumors and conspiracy theories about the prince's disappearance largely emerged in later years. Especially after Henry VII ascended the throne, he deliberately portrayed Richard III as a ruthless villain to weaken support for potential opposition. This negative image was amplified over time and was eventually cemented in literature by the great playwright Shakespeare. Shakespeare's Richard III is cunning and cruel, profoundly shaping subsequent perceptions and blurring historical fact, making the truth difficult to discern.
So, based on your research, you believe the princes didn't actually die?
According to recent studies from 2020, astonishing evidence found in Dutch archives suggests that Edward V did not mysteriously disappear in the Tower of London as traditionally believed, but was secretly sent into exile in the Channel Islands, surviving at least until the age of 17. This discovery overturns long-held historical assumptions and lifts part of the mysterious veil surrounding Edward V's fate. There is also evidence indicating that the younger son, Richard, was taken to mainland Europe and safely protected by loyal guardians. Richard later appeared as Perkin Warbeck, becoming a political threat under Henry VI's reign, and was ultimately executed in 1499. This history reveals that Richard did not die young as traditional accounts suggest, but lived a turbulent and remarkable life abroad.
Wow, so the two little skeletons we're familiar with, were they really the princes?
In the past, some believed that children's remains found in certain building foundations belonged to the missing princes. However, scientific testing revealed that these children were not members of the royal family. They were ordinary children buried as foundation sacrifices, a common ancient practice intended to ensure the stability and safety of a building.
One last question: why is Richard III always portrayed as the ultimate villain?
History is often written by the victors, and Henry VII and the Tudor dynasty are a prime example of this principle. To consolidate power and legitimize his rule, Henry deliberately depicted Richard III as a tyrant while presenting himself as the rightful and wise king. This political propaganda profoundly shaped later perceptions of Richard, making him one of history's most controversial figures. However, examining contemporary letters and official records reveals a very different image of Richard. He is described as loyal to the crown, courageous in facing political rivals, and committed to justice, working to safeguard the kingdom and the welfare of the people. The Real Richard was far from the cruel tyrant depicted in later literature and political narratives. He was a complex figure deserving of reassessment.
So the Richard III we know today was actually a misunderstood hero?
You could say that. During his brief 2-year reign, Richard III devoted himself to maintaining stability and order in the kingdom, rather than being the merciless tyrant of legend. Many of the negative portrayals of him were products of later political propaganda and literary creation. History is often rewritten by those in power to favor their own narrative. This is why modern historians must return to original sources, letters, legal documents, and official records, to reconstruct a more accurate picture of the past. In contemporary accounts, Richard III is depicted as a loyal, courageous, and just leader, striving to stabilize the nation and uphold the rule of law, rather than the one-dimensional villain of popular imagination.
So, regarding the prince's disappearance, is it possible that they really faced danger?
Certainly possible. With new evidence emerging, we're beginning to rethink the fate of Edward V and Richard, Duke of York. Recent research suggests that the two princes likely did not die young as traditionally believed, but were secretly protected and sent into exile to escape the complex political turmoil and power struggles of the time. This strategy of hiding and safeguarding allowed them to survive in secrecy, leaving a historical mystery that remains unsolved. Many rumors, especially those about Richard III's alleged misdeeds, were actually politically motivated propaganda spread by the Tudor dynasty to consolidate its rule. By portraying Richard as a tyrant, the new dynasty successfully undermined the legitimacy of its opponents and strengthened its own power base. Such historical manipulation obscured the truth, weaving legend and fact into a complex historical tapestry.
Wow, so the entire event is far more complicated than we imagined.
Exactly. This was not just a palace intrigue, it was the result of intertwined forces of power, law, family, and political propaganda. Every detail deserves careful scrutiny.
What lessons can this historical mystery teach us today?
It reminds us not to take surface-level rumors at face value, but to rely on evidence and archives to reconstruct history. Biases from history written by the victors can easily distort the life of an individual. Richard III's case is a perfect warning. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, share, and leave your thoughts. See you in the next episode.